What if the open road turns into a trap? Like an invisible warning you just couldn't ignore. That's how my hitchhiking trip started, with a strange sign I barely noticed at the time. I never should have helped that snake cross the road, but I did. And that moment changed everything. Because what happened next still haunts me. And the truly terrifying question: what would you do when the danger isn't just outside your car, but right beside you? Tonight, we're diving into true hitchhiking horror stories that actually happened. So stick close and keep watching till the end to find out what happened, before it was too late. But before we start, make sure to subscribe or follow so you never miss any new chilling releases. If you're enjoying the content, hit like, drop a comment, and share this video. Let's see how many of you truly love this kind of episodes. But there's a little twist. One of the stories you're about to hear isn't real. It was completely made up. Watch till the end, try to guess which one, and leave your guess in the comments. Thank you for being part of this journey with me. And now, let's dive into the darkness together. I'm not really a storyteller. I don't believe in ghosts or any of that shit. But something happened last October that I've never been able to explain. It was pouring rain. Really bad. Like the kind that makes every car headlight a blur. I wasn't supposed to be driving down that old country lane at all. My car died halfway between towns, just as night fully settled in. I tried calling roadside assistance, but my phone had zero signal. Then I remembered an old road I'd passed once before, late at night. A road I swore I'd never take again. But with no other choice, there I was, driving down that empty stretch. The lane was deserted, just puddles and mud under my headlights. The rain hammered the windshield, and the wipers squeaked, barely keeping up. I shifted into neutral and let the car coast to a stop beneath a single flickering street lamp. It buzzed faintly, throwing weird shadows as it blinked on and off, making the rain look like falling ash. Then I saw them. A lone figure stood at the gravel shoulder, soaked through, wearing clothes that looked like they'd come from another century, a patchwork wool coat and old trousers. Their hair was a soaked mess, and in one trembling hand they held a worn cardboard sign with the word "Help" barely readable. The other hand was extended toward me, trembling as if they were asking me to come closer. Their face was pale and gaunt, almost unnaturally so. Their eyes were sunken, glowing faintly under the flickering light. A twisted smile stretched across their lips. My heart started pounding. I thought I must be imagining it, but the sleeve of their coat brushed against the window. It was real. I cracked the window open a bit. Cold rain sprayed inside. "Are you okay?" I asked, my voice shaking. The smile widened, and their voice came out hollow, raspy. "Please, can I get a ride?" Silence. Only the rain hit the road. My brain screamed, "Don't do this." But something pulled at me. Maybe it was the rain, the night, or just the feeling that someone needed help. I unlocked the passenger door. The figure slid in, moving stiffly, like a marionette with broken strings. I caught a glimpse of their hand gripping the sign. The cardboard was soaked and peeling, the letters darkened with mud. Their coat smelled like wet straw and mildew. I started the engine, fog swirling around the windows. Swallowing hard, I asked, "Where are you headed?" "Down the road," they said, voice thin and broken. "Whitechurch. I have to get to Whitechurch." I'd never heard of it, but I nodded and drove on, headlights cutting through the rain. The silence in the car felt heavy, like the air itself was pressing down. I glanced over. Their sunken eyes stared straight ahead, lost in shadow. "What happened to you?" I whispered. They looked at me, or through me. For a moment, the flickering lamp outside caught the back seat just right. A tarnished silver Saint metal pinned to their coat, patches worn thin on their knees. Then, darkness swallowed the light again. "I lost my way," they murmured, "but I'm glad you stopped." Each mile felt endless. The woods closed in on both sides, the trees twisting into shapes that lightning briefly revealed. shapes that seemed to move just beyond the beam of light. Then blackness again. The figure let out a quiet, wet breath. My chest tightened. I could have stopped any time. Turned around, dropped them off. But the rain, the storm, their eyes. I looked again. Their grip on the help sign was loosening. The letters blurred almost to nothing, like ghost ink on soaked paper. Suddenly, a sharp knock on the passenger window made me jump. I looked. Nothing. Just rain and empty road. "Thank you," the figure said softly. "We're almost there." A nervous laugh escaped me. I flicked the high beams, trying to spot signs through the rain. "There's no white church," I began. They cut me off, voice steady now. "It's just ahead." The lamp flickered again, and as I passed, lightning flashed, revealing a white stone building, half collapsed and boarded up. Grass choked the grounds. A carving over the door read, "White Church." I slammed on the brakes, tires slipping in the mud. "This place?" I stammered. They leaned forward, face lit by the headlights, features sharper, eyes red-tinged and sunken deeper. That crooked smile widened. "Yes, this is where I live." My heart hammered. "You live here? In ruins?" They nodded. For a long time, waiting for someone to bring me home. I swallowed. "I can't take you any further." Their smile disappeared, replaced by something hollow and grim. They stepped out, weightless, like a ghost. I froze, watching as they vanished into the darkness, footsteps silent on wet earth. The rain softened. The engine idled. I stared at the ruins. Was it real? A hallucination? A ghost? Then I saw the help sign on the ground, letters smeared red under the faint light. I picked it up with shaking hands and placed it on the dashboard. I waited. The woods were still. No shadows, no movement, just wind through branches. After who knows how long, the engine died again. I tried starting it. Nothing. I cursed, glancing nervously into the black woods. My phone buzzed, 1 bar of signal. Enough to call for help. I did. When help arrived, lightning cracked again. They pulled me from the car, people with flashlights and sticks. They asked what I'd seen. I showed the help sign and told them everything. No sign of the hitchhiker, no footprints near the chapel, no record of White Church other than those abandoned ruins, long forgotten after floods and collapse decades ago. Weeks later, I swear I caught a glimpse in my rearview mirror. Pale eyes staring back at me from the empty back seat. But when I checked, nothing was there. The help sign had vanished from the dashboard. I drove that road again in daylight. Nothing but cracked pavement, puddles, and an overgrown clearing where the chapel once stood. No lamppost, no sign, just empty woods. Sometimes when I'm alone on a dark road, I feel a cold presence behind me. A faint knock at the window, a whisper on the wind. Help me get home. So if you're ever caught beneath a lonely street lamp in the rain, and someone dressed like they stepped out of another century holds a help sign, part of me says, let them in. But another part warns. Maybe you're driving them to a place that only exists in shadows. And then, maybe, you'll be the one haunted. It started as an ordinary Monday evening. I got off my day job at 7 p.m. and decided to pick up a few DoorDash deliveries. Nothing out of the ordinary. Just me, a warm car, and the miles of quiet roads under my tires. I made 7, maybe 8 stops all around town. Orders, directions, polite thanks, routine. By around 10 p.m., I was driving back from the last drop-off. It was out in the farmland on the edge of town, fields rolling out like waves under a low moon. I could almost taste the bed waiting for me. Then I saw something. Lit by my headlights, a figure stood in the middle of the road. I hit the brakes and slowed to a stop. There, in the flicker of high beams, was a man, early 50s, long coat, and a massive backpack hanging off one shoulder. He looked like he hadn't slept in days. His shoulders sagged, eyes hollow. His thumb flicked upward, asking for a ride. He didn't look dangerous, just tired. Maybe lost. I checked my rearview mirror but saw no cars behind me. I unlocked my window. He leaned in, voice hoarse. "Thanks for stopping. I just need to get into town." He didn't waste time. Without waiting, he opened the passenger door and climbed into the front seat. That's when the quiet night became wrong. I said nothing. I started driving again, rounding a curve through fields of tall, whispering grass. The radio was off, door shut, and the only sound was the hum of tires. "So, what's your story?" I asked, trying to break the silence. "Passing through," he said. His tone was neutral, rehearsed. "Visiting family, don't own a car." He didn't ask anything back. There was no conversation, just long stretches of silence, save for the hum of the engine. Then caught a glimpse of movement in the corner of my eye. He was looking at the back seat. Not fleeting, not polite. It was slow and deliberate and searching. It made my heart pick up. Something about him was wrong. Not dangerous, yet, but wrong. I flushed it out, pushed it down like a bad mood. But it lingered. "Everything okay?" I asked again, eyes on the dark highway ahead. No reply. Just the soft shuffle of his coat. Seconds later, I realized his right hand was tight on something black in his lap. Something metal. I looked down. A knife. His grip was calm. My breath caught. He spoke, slow and flat. "Stop the car." My hands stiffened. I eased the car to a stop right there. Center highway, empty farmland all around. The field grass glowed faintly in my headlights. Silence pressed in. No crickets, no wind, just the sound of my own pulse thudding in my ears. The air was so cold I thought I could taste it. "Okay," I whispered. I thought, car, phone, keys. His demands would be clear. But what he said next cracked my blood cold. "Get in the back." His voice was calm. I looked at him, then down. His heavy backpack was at his feet. I noticed it was slightly open. Thick rope peeked from within. His plan wasn't robbery. I realized how alone I was. No one around for miles. Just headlights, grass, dark sky. I unbuckled and opened the door and ran. I didn't wait. I dashed into the tall grass on the side of the road, feeling stalked by headlights trailing over corn stalks and swaying weeds. I heard the door slam, mutters of frustration, and followed the sound of running footsteps. I held nothing back. Ran until my lungs burned, until I was raw and gasping, until I couldn't hear him anymore. Then I froze. Night sky overhead. Field all around. No sound except my ragged breathing. I crouched low. The grass rustled across my back. I tried to go still and invisible. Time stretched. 10 minutes. 20. Under the pale moonlight, I gathered enough courage to return to the road. My car was still there. Headlights dim but on. Door open. No one driving. I climbed in, kept my eyes on the fields, grabbed my phone, and ran back off the road. I called 911, trembling. I don't remember what I said exactly. Something frantic about an attempted kidnapping. A man with a knife and rope. But the words felt weird in my dry throat. Police came out, lights sweeping over fields in my car. They waved me onto a dirt driveway to question me. I gave them a description. 50s, gaunt, heavy backpack, knife, rope. But by the time we searched, he was gone. There were no tracks in the grass, no sign he'd ducked through a trail. It was like he dropped out of the world. After that night, I changed. I sold the car, bought a key, and got a place inside town limits. I don't take any more late-night gigs. I don't drive on unknown roads when there's pitch dark and nothing but fields outside the window. But I still remember. The headlights flicked over those stalks. The cold when he said, "Get in the back." I still feel the rope in my mind, draped over shadowed seats. The memory tastes metallic and awful. If someone asked me now if I'd call that a close call, hell yes. I came back with my life, breathing. I swear I hear rustling outside when the wind blows high in the corn at night. Sometimes I look out the window, and I half expect to see him standing there, waiting. This happened in late summer of 1993. At the time, I was living in Montana, but my boyfriend was in British Columbia. We were broke and careless, basically scraping by, so whenever we needed to go anywhere too far to bike, hitchhiking was our go-to. I'd spent all of August with him in BC, but when school was about to start again, I had to head back. Neither of us had any money saved up. My boyfriend hadn't come through with a bus ticket or anything, and my parents were mad at me, so no help there. I couldn't call my friends either since we didn't have a phone. We lived in this tiny 2-room cabin up in the mountains, no running water, and the only phone around was a party line at the neighbor's place, meant strictly for emergencies. I was already 2 days late for school and didn't want to beg around for a ticket, so I decided to hitchhike back alone for the first time ever. I packed my backpack, triple-checked I had my ID, because a while back we'd tried to cross the border without it and nearly got stuck, and set out. Most of the trip went surprisingly smoothly. As soon as I got down the mountain into town, this elderly couple picked me up and drove me all the way to Creston, right near the border. I crossed over and was almost immediately picked up by a guy who gave me a bit of a weird vibe, but he was mostly just a concerned talker. He kept warning me how dangerous hitchhiking alone was, and said I reminded him of his daughter. He drove me nearly halfway, right to Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. I was honestly feeling lucky, but once I got outside the city limits, things changed. I stuck my thumb out, but hours went by without a single ride. I was walking slowly, tired, when I spotted a small piece of cardboard on the ground. I grabbed it, thinking maybe I could make a sign to help get a ride at the next exit. As I walked faster, I saw something flicker in the corner of my eye. A thin, dark snake struggling to get over the cement guardrail onto the shoulder. It looked like it was throwing itself sideways, trying but failing to make the jump. I kind of liked snakes, and this one seemed harmless, so I used my cardboard sign like a little shovel and helped push it over. Looking back, I probably should have seen that as a bad omen. Before I could get to the next exit, a car slowed down and stopped nearby. I always felt a knot in my stomach whenever a car stopped while I was walking alone, trying to decide if this was Ted Bundy or just some eccentric person. My heart sank when I saw it was just a single man driving. But then I noticed a kid in the passenger seat, maybe 10 or 13 years old. That made me hesitate less. Who would try to hurt a stranger in front of a kid, right? I got in. The man was chatty, introducing the boy as his nephew. They were driving back to St. Louis after visiting family in Seattle so the kid could see his grandma. The kid barely said a word. At first, the ride was full of friendly chit-chat and family stories, and I started to relax a bit. I had a switchblade my boyfriend gave me hidden in my palm, out of sight but close by. Still, the man kept talking. After about an hour, though, the conversation took a weird turn. The guy began asking me personal and uncomfortable questions. If I had a boyfriend, what he was like, what we liked to do, even our favorite position. I panicked inside. This guy was definitely a creep. I decided to play along, keeping my cool while trying to figure out how to get away. I noticed the drink in the console looked like more than just soda. The guy was getting looser, and his questions got worse. I was so embarrassed for the kid in the car, but I kept breathing deeply to stop myself from freaking out. Then it got worse. The man made it clear he expected sex from me in exchange for the ride. Door-to-door service, he called it. And then, horrifyingly, he suggested I find one of my girlfriends for his nephew. He said it with this sickly, cheerful, menacing smile that made my stomach drop. I knew I had to get away. We were about 20 minutes from my town. I told him, "Sure, let's go see my friend," and made up some story about a phantom friend waiting for us. I asked him to stop at a gas station a few blocks from my place to grab some beer for our date. He was reluctant, but went inside. As soon as he was in the store, I opened the door and bolted down a nearby alley, diving into a dense thicket of bushes. I held myself as tight as possible, clutching the switchblade now pulled from my sleeve. My heart was pounding so hard I thought it might explode. I crouched there, listening for his car to come down the alley. It never did. I stayed hidden until night fell and finally sprinted home. I could hear him yelling and cursing from a distance. I locked every door, including the deadbolt, and collapsed inside, trembling and covered in leaves. When I finally got inside and locked the door, I just collapsed onto the floor, shaking and exhausted. My roommate freaked out and kept asking what happened. I told her the basics, enough to make her worry, but not every detail. She kept asking why I didn't call her earlier, and honestly, I didn't know. I guess I was too scared, too embarrassed, and trying to stay calm on my own. That night, I barely slept. The whole thing replayed in my head. How close it came to turning into something much worse. But it also made me realize how lucky I was, and how dangerous hitchhiking alone really was. After that, I swore I'd never do it again without someone I trusted around, and I started saving up for bus tickets, even if it meant scraping every penny together. It took me a long time to stop feeling that knot in my stomach every time I saw a stranger pull over when I was walking. I still think about that guy sometimes, and it scares me how easily things could have gone differently. But it also taught me to trust my gut and stand up for myself, even when I felt small and helpless. So yeah, that summer of '93 was a turning point for me. A brutal lesson in how careless decisions can almost cost you everything. I don't tell the story much, but I'll never forget it. And I hope anyone out there who thinks hitchhiking is just a quick, easy way to get around remembers this. Stay safe, stay aware, and don't ever be afraid to get out and run if you need to. If you've made it to the end of this video, let me know in the comments which story creeped you out the most, and if you could survive only one of them, which one would it be? Don't forget to drop your guess. Which story do you think was the fake one? Also, if you enjoyed the episode, hit super thanks if you're on YouTube, or send us some stars if you're on Facebook to show some love and make your comments stand out. Want to go next level? Get early access to upcoming episodes, exclusive members-only content, and much more by joining our YouTube membership or becoming a Patreon supporter. Trust me, you don't want to miss what's waiting there for you. Don't forget to like, share, and catch up on our previous episodes. And now, stay tuned for the next horror episode.